Melanated family, back for another one. Me and my brother. Welcome everybody to a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I'm your brother Harrison. Typically we do the show on Tuesday, but like I said last night, really important event in my community that I wanted to attend. So today, me and my brother Jermaine Morris is going to talk about some of the takeaways from this conversation we had last night with our brothers. This build we had. So last night we went to an event. Shout out to my brother Keon Johnson. He put on an event where he invited several black men to sit in a round table type environment and discuss what we do wrong to black women. How can we show up better for black women? What are the things we're doing now that can be detrimental to black women? Like this was, and I spoke with my brother Keon, and he thanked me for coming and changing the date of my show. But in actuality, I needed that. You know what I mean? I needed to be in that environment with those brothers. So today, me and my brother Jermaine is going to talk about how we're going to build. How have we been destroying our community? How have we been destroying ourselves? All of this is important. So everybody, please welcome to the show my brother Jermaine Morris. What's up, Jermaine?
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Not much. You know how we do it. So, Jermaine, just to get into it, and I apologize, everybody. We were supposed to start at 8, but I was lifing like my brother. One of my brothers online, he saying, "Man, you know how life be lifing." I was like, "Damn, that I kind of like that."
Yeah,
Because you never know sometimes. But we here, family. So, Jermaine, when we talk about building versus destroying in the black community, first, what were some of the takeaways from the conversation we had with the brothers last night, in your opinion?
I think some of the stuff that was highlighted was like our own stuff. Like I think one of the why I think it was a productive conversation is because the conversation wasn't about what are they doing, or if it was a dynamic between men and women. It wasn't like, well, if she do this, then I'll do that. There was none of that. And so that's what I was appreciative of, that. And everybody was kind of looking at, dealing with our own stuff so we don't then dump all of our crap onto her. And I'm just using her as whoever the proverbial her is, whether it be your significant other, maybe your children, your mama, maybe whomever, who the hers in our community are. And just like really taking the time to realize, like, the better we are, the better we can be for someone else.
Definitely.
And then being mindful of the ways we have not been good for someone else.
And that was a lot of the points really stuck out to me because as men, we're always growing, but like the level of accountability that you take on, like understanding your role in certain situations is very imperative to me. Like as a man, I've struggled with that, with shifting blame and doing all these things. And it's almost like, Jermaine, when we as men take on that stance where I'm going to blame somebody.
Yeah.
I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to not take it serious.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a little more significantly damaging on our communities because we should be the ones leading and guiding, in my opinion.
Yeah. In say if you want to have the discussion on the dynamic of who quote unquote should or shouldn't be leading, that's whatever. I just think that there should be the fact that there should be a showing up happening. And so I think that deciding on who's leading, to me, is a little further down the road. Because I think where it's at right now is that you just got to do the fundamentals. Like
definitely
showing up and producing, showing up and providing, showing up to protect, showing up to be present. Like doing those things before you decide who in quote unquote in charge or who's quote unquote like leading the troops in what direction. You got to get the infantry together before you even start with what direction they're going. And I think that having that discussion on being accountable, it's not I'll show up if she does this. Like accountability is not conditional. So if I'm doing this because this is what my responsibilities, these are the things that I need to do. That's not contingent upon if this person is quote unquote doing their part.
And I've seen that a lot in myself and other men where you just did something, or you reacted in a way that wasn't sufficient for the moment. But the first thing you say is, well, if you wouldn't have came at me like that, or if you wouldn't have yelled, or if you wouldn't have, whatever it may be, you talking to a woman, sometimes you got to calm down and kind of take that. So Jermaine, let's go over a few things that would be considered building as a black man, right? So when I look at a black man in totality, I think one of the main things that you can use to build is not just be a father to your kids, but be empathetic. Like the bigger thing you just said is show up for your children. Some of the stuff after that, if you show up with the right intentions, some of the stuff after that can work itself out. So showing up for your kids, showing up for your woman, like making it a point to want to provide. And providing, we say it a lot, but that don't mean having a whole lot of money per se, but just putting yourself in a position to provide whatever you can, right?
Yeah. And I think what gets neglected a lot is the showing up part. Like on how important it is, because when you show up for somebody, you establish a degree of credibility with that individual that you care. So you may not have the money for this, but they know that you not buying this is not a question of your care for them.
Wait, because when you say showing up, let's break that down real quick, because you just mentioned financial, and I'm learning that sometimes showing up can just be, I'm here.
Showing up. Like let's not overcomplicate it. Like there are more, you as an adult, most of us can look back and say that we remember that one-on-one conversation with a family member more than we remember what they bought us for Christmas. Like we'll remember who showed up and who was in the stands at practice more than we remember how many pairs of shoes they bought us during our childhood. I mean, we'll remember them helping us learn to read, or helping us with math, or talking to us about something going on. Those are the pivotal things that we really think back and remember. You know what I mean? When you show up for somebody, they were at a position to where they felt like they were leaning back and you were there to catch them. When you show up for somebody, and I think that we equate showing up is to always being financial. I swear we just make everything about money.
We do.
And it's not the case. Like, so if you can show up for somebody, and we show up in our community, if you're the ear, that you're a compassionate ear and empathetic soul, that you can, maybe you just stand up for somebody in a moment to where they feel like, they didn't think anybody would. Like you're just showing up for somebody. It doesn't always mean you got to come out your pocket.
It don't always mean you got to come out your pocket. And as a father, like black men, I want black men to realize sometime, and I talk to a lot of younger dudes around me who have children, sometimes showing up for the woman you had a kid with, like I don't like using baby mama, baby daddy, or whatever, but the woman you had a kid with, sometimes showing up, young men, is literally like Jermaine said, showing up. You may not have the money, but sometimes your pride and your ego make you think, okay, I don't have the money, so I'm a lash out, I'm a kind of duck down a little bit. But no, show up and say, I'm here. How can I be of service?
Yeah, like, okay, so if we sticking with parents, if you have a small child, I mean, if I'm getting everybody business, if you have a child with somebody that you're no longer with, and you don't have two nickels to rub together, but you like, look here, I'm gonna be with the child for the next 4 hours, so you can sleep, so you can do whatever you need to do. Like, I'm just going to be present and take the responsibility solely of this child. Now, you may not have come over with a nickel to rub together, but you put in sweat equity in the parenting of this. Because what happens is when we don't have money, it's the same way as when people owe you money. They disappear. You see somebody every weekend, and then they 3 days late on getting you back your money, and all of a sudden they're on radio silence. And the mentality is, well, I'll fall back until I have your money. And they don't resurface until they're able to pay you back.
Yeah.
Well, we have people who take that stance in the community. Well, I don't have any money to bring if I show up, so I'm just going to fall back until I can show up with something. You do better to show up empty pockets, but giving your time, energy, effort, love, compassion, affection, being responsible and accountable in that moment. If your bank account is withdrawn, That is a better move than to just fall back until your pockets are right.
Your presence can be a resource.
Yes.
That can be an actual resource. And I'm learning that you show up what you need me to pick up, what you need me to watch. You need to talk for a minute. Because when we look at like hip hop, Jermaine, and just because we were digging in yesterday to how young black men feel about our women in America. And what you just said about money makes a lot of sense, because looking at hip hop, looking at just the younger generation, everything is financial. Everything is transactional.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is a negative thing when we're talking about growing and being there for people. And we got a lot of things to deal with in the black community, but as far as young black men, how you procreate matters.
Yes.
Who you decide to procreate with matters. I'm learning a new thing where I say, Jermaine, looking at a situation with our people or anybody, I'm like, damn, every part of this situation matters. How it started, who's involved, who has the money, who don't have. You got to look at everything if you really want to solve the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And being beyond yourself. Like, and so I think sometimes we get into these dynamics of what about children and relationships where you're not together anymore. Well, I say before you even get to that point, like how you treat women when you don't have children. Like what are you doing to the ecosystem? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you good or bad for the ecosystem?
Are you good or bad for the ecosystem? Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, is when you enter the pool, did you help clean it up or did you help murky it up?
That's exactly what I mean today, everybody. Building or destroying. Some black men may be in a tough situation, like in your neighborhood, with your family dynamics. And you may not know that unintentionally or intentionally, you actually destroying the environment to a degree, whether it be your your personal relationship, whether it be the relationship with your kid, the relationship with your woman. If you don't step back and take a look at who you are and the decisions you've made so far, you can find yourself in a situation where you're causing more trauma in the situation than helping it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't count how many dudes take the stance of dating as a trial and error to where we will leave a trail of damage to women until we decide we want to act right with the right one. So it's not like you have a dating history that it just didn't work out. No, you was on some BS for a strong decade. And then you left all these bodies in the wake until you decided, okay, well, now I'm quote unquote mature or quote unquote grown up.
Now I found the right woman. She changed me. No,
but it's like, look at what you did on the way here.
Look at what you did in the woman who now have a hard time trusting men.
Yeah.
Have a hard time dealing with certain things, all because of how you acted.
Yeah. So I'm saying, are you good for the ecosystem?
Yeah, that's definitely true. And then we can look at things from several different perspectives, like from the neighborhoods we grow up in, when we have young men who decide to sell drugs, when we have young men who decide to engage in certain behavior, this is actually destroying even. But when you listen to hip hop and the young people who listen to hip hop, they'll listen to a story about destroying, but it's they somehow get empowerment out of it.
Yeah, but I think so. First off, too, I'm not one for the revisionist history. So I'm old enough to remember being in elementary school listening to NWA and Eazy-E. You couldn't have told me that Ice Cube wasn't the biggest killer in the world in 1988. You can get that stuff in, but it wasn't the only thing. And in fact, it was a small percentage of what I actually heard musically. Like that sort of stuff. I grew up in a house where they was playing Kool and the Gang and The Time and all that. That's predominantly what I heard. And then I heard context. You know, we look at, well, what the music is this or the movies or that. That's not the child's first teacher. That's not the child's first influence.
Got it.
So if you're saying that, you know, I don't even know these dudes, Little Pistol Starter and Little Stomach Ache are the ones that are all in your child's ear leading him astray, I would say, why is that the overpowering voice in their ear?
And you've kind of said that before. So in the house, and I believe this to be the truth too. Like your household, that's like a small
ground zero.
country you've created.
Yeah.
And what people believe in the house, how the children or the adults conduct themselves, that's all based on the energy in the house, how you guys talk to each other, how you guys convey certain things. That's definitely true, bro. So in your opinion, Jermaine, what are some internally, like for a black man, what are things a black man can do internally that can, at the end of the day, benefit everybody, his kids, the community he's trying to serve, the woman he wants to be involved with?
So first off, do you know yourself? You know, is everything about who you are a reaction to external stimuli, or are you internally driven and purposeful?
When you say external stimuli, what do you mean?
Do I do what I do because I'm looking for validation from them, or do I do what I do because this is who I am? So if how you dress every day, if the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, well, I do this because they like this, or they respond to that, or you'll hear dudes, why you act like that? Well, because women respond to that. So that's not you. That's just you being a certain way because there's a certain response you want from somebody else. Okay. You know what I mean? Dudes respected this and didn't respect that. Well, which one is more you? This is me, but I'm more affirmed from this group when I behave like this outside of me. So first off, do you know you, and are you being true to yourself?
That makes a lot of sense. Now, something else I want to touch on with you, bro. So I posted a video like 2 days ago, and it was a black grandmother speaking to the fact that I'm a grandmother, but I shouldn't be your primary baby. If I'm a grandmother or a grandfather and my daughter or son has children, you shouldn't lean on me too much. I can help you. She was very vulgar.
I saw that video. Okay.
How do you feel about that mentality as a grandparent? Kind of conveying that to a kid that you actually raised.
Well, I think that's where it goes. That quote that says, "If you raise your kids, you can spoil your grandkids. But if you spoil your kids, you'll have to raise your grandkids."
Oh, wait, I ain't never heard that before.
So if you raise your children, then you get to spoil your grandchildren. But if you spoil your children, then you're gonna have to raise your grandchildren.
And something on the video I respected what she said, because I'm an early grandfather and I understand her sentiment, but I had to take a step back and say, wait a minute, damn. You raised this child that needs you so much now. So we can't take off the table what you did as a parent. Revisionist history. Like a lot of parents sometimes, Jermaine, they get to a place where they are okay with themselves. They're okay with their environment now. So I forgot when you was 9, I ain't really talked to you a lot. I wasn't there. I was working. I had a abusive something, but I can't forget about that.
Well, this is where we talk about fault versus responsibility. So if you're the person who has the kids and you're trying to give them to grandma to watch, your mother or father may not have given you adequate tools to be the proficient parent you need to be right now. So it's not your fault that you're 18 without these tools. But it is your responsibility to raise these children to the best of your ability without grandma stepping in. Like, it's one thing to say, well, Mom, you never even taught me this. Dad, you never showed me this. True. So you not knowing it to this date may not be your fault. But if you decide to have children in this world, they are now your responsibility. And so now you're 22 trying to bring the baby to grandma 50, talking about, I'm going to the club.
I'm going to the club. I ain't old.
Yeah, I'm off the clock. Like you grown now. Like, I may not have given you everything you needed, but at this stage, it is your responsibility to do what you need to do. So it's great when we have the village that you can go to auntie's house, that cousin so-and-so, that uncle, grandpa, all of them will pitch in, but that's not everybody's reality.
And we need to realize we abuse the village sometimes. Like what the grandma was saying, a part of it that I recognize is sometimes when you do get a parent, let's say your mom is cool and she said, I'm gonna watch this baby 3 days a week. I love my grandbaby.
Yes.
Some young people gonna say, well, shit, she watching her 3 days a week. I'm gonna go ahead and stay an hour later. Or and this is, to me, this is like abusing that resource that you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't abuse the plug.
You don't abuse the plug, and people get mad when the plug be like, "Okay, I'm unplugging this shit."
Yeah, don't abuse the plug. If your mama's gonna watch the kids till 5, but she's adamantly like, "Look, I gotta be somewhere. I watch her till 5, so you can go to school, or till 5, till you go to work. But I still got things I gotta do." Like, there's this misconception that just because if somebody's in their 50s and their kids are grown, that life ain't lifing for them. I don't know a whole lot of 50-year-old retirees.
That's true. Another thing, Jermaine. So how important is it if a parent knows, like, maybe when my kid was younger, I didn't do things right.
Okay.
Like I got a little boy who in the street now, and I'm hard on him about being in the street. I'm talking shit about him to my friends, like he needed to get it together. But maybe I never set him down and said, son, I'm sorry. I didn't do this or that as a single mom. Like, how important is it for the parent to kind of step up and acknowledge that, hey, maybe there were some things I didn't do right, but you still got to be responsible?
Okay, so that's big. We very rarely do you really get apologized to by your parents. They'll tell you I did the best I could. Like that would it be helpful in some cases? I could say honestly, yes. I think a lot of people could benefit from their parents apologizing for certain situations, circumstances, but by and large, most of us will never get that. But I think that there is, like I said, this is the reconciling the individual. So if your parents, whatever they was on, and you find yourself now as an adult and you realize you have some deficiencies in some areas, your abilities to communicate, your ability to, relay what you're feeling, how you react to stuff, your inability to sustain healthy relationships, maybe you can't keep a job, whatever. Like, you realize at this point at 25, like, I'm behind. Like I'm behind right now. I'm behind my peers. I'm behind where I should, like my trajectory, like regardless of wherever I did or didn't get it. Like I said, that's where you so you say the original point, Black men, where are we at and how do we build and how do we move? There just has to be this point where you just decide it's me. It's me. And removing this idea, like I said, fault and responsibility. You might have been dealt an incredibly bad hand, which was not your fault. But if you spend your life trying to get restitution for what wasn't your fault, it's going to blind you from taking control and being in responsibility.
Damn, that makes a lot of sense, because I see a lot of young people who, and sometimes I'll give them the grace to say, damn, I know this young person. Yeah. Mama wasn't there. Daddy wasn't there. Or mama was there, but she was negligent, right? So how long do you allow this person to use that to say, hey, my mom was on drugs or wasn't never home? When do you supposed to be like, okay, that happened, but so what? I'm 24 now.
Well, this is where you learn to put a period instead of a comma. Daddy wasn't there. Mommy worked all the time. I was left alone. Nobody was there to do A, B, and C. I didn't learn D, E, and F. Period. Not comma. So I'm not going to do these things. I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to communicate. I'm not going to learn these things later. I got a raw deal. Period. I didn't get proper guidance. Period. I wasn't nurtured in how to express myself. Period.
Period, meaning leave it there, right?
Meaning there's no, like I said, I duly noted, checked off the box. Okay, you got a bad deal. Check. Okay. We're acknowledging it. We're validating your space. We're no one's denying that that's your reality.
Now what?
But if you're looking for something to compensate you for that bad start, that's where the problem is.
Feeling like
you're never going to get that pound of flesh from the parent that didn't show up. More often than not, you're never even going to get the proper apology that you feel like you need.
Very true.
Most people, when kids are coming up in these types of circumstances, whatever you're looking for from somebody else, if they were in a position to give it to you, you probably wouldn't have been in that situation.
Damn. So if they were in a state of mind to be empathetic or be apologetic, that they would have did it.
If your daddy could have been there, if right now you're looking for the end all be all apology for why he left your mom, why he wasn't there for you, why all this accountability, this transparency, this honesty, this communication, if he was that in touch with who he is and what he's doing, he probably wouldn't have left you in that situation to begin with.
Definitely.
So whatever it is you're looking for him, he's 50 and you 22, even if he gave you verbatim what you thought you needed to hear, it ain't gonna do nothing for you, really.
And it seems like life teaches people a lot. I'm learning that with my sons. Like they get older and life get to lifing, and they start going through things, and they say, well, you know what? You didn't have to like apologize to me or talk about it, but I went through something similar. So now I feel like me and you relate a little more. I go through that with my kids. Some things I tried to hide from them, or my ego didn't want to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now they go through stuff in life and like, you know what, Pops, I see what you meant, you know?
Yeah. Or they don't. Like you may go to the grave and you never see eye to eye with the people who were involved in whatever happened to you. There could have been abuse involved, neglect. There could have been a whole series of things that happened. You may take it to the grave that we ain't never going to be square. But if you stay stuck in that space, then that's where when we talk about where we are as adults, we don't have that energy. We don't have that focus to build ourselves and move forward, because so much of us is attached to what was, and who didn't do what, and who dropped the ball, and who owes me, and this, that, and this raw deal, and this bad shake, and all that sort of stuff. So we're saying, how do we get better? Like, start with yourself.
Start with yourself. And then you start with yourself. And I think when you start with yourself, you can begin to realize things you may not be doing that's beneficial. Like I was saying, when we talk about building or destroying, everybody, this is your brother Harrison, brother Jermaine, Melanated Convo Podcast. If you're listening to it on the one of the video platforms, Facebook, YouTube, like, subscribe, all the digital platforms, you can find the show there as well. Jermaine, yesterday we were talking about, we had a couple brothers who broke down like generational trauma in their family. Kind of in a way I never heard it. Like one of the brothers was breaking it down, like how his grandpa acted, how his grandpa before him acted. So as we move forward, it's 2023 now. We a little older. We got the internet. Like the world is changing a little bit. Like, how do we stop that shit, man? How do we stop like the quiet man? Remember the father who didn't say nothing, just handled business, just did what he was supposed to do, but he didn't say shit. He didn't apologize. You thought he was kind of mean, but you knew he was there for you. How do we get back to some of that? Because now it seems like the young people just don't give a fuck.
So to me, I don't, when it comes to the community, I always kind of like pull away when we keep putting the onus on children.
What do you mean?
So we'll look at the state of the community and we put the onus on the 12 to 19 year olds. Like as if they just came out the womb like this. Like they got this from somewhere. You know what I mean? They got this from like, so instead of me saying, well, how do we get these 13-year-olds? By fixing the 30-year-old.
By fixing
like, but when the 30-year-olds are acting right, the 13-year-olds, like I remember the same era where you grew up when they had the fathers, like fathers in the neighborhood, the guys that you would see outside mowing the lawn, playing catch the kids, who were a presence. That was those were nonverbal lessons a lot of us learned. Like we just watched how men behaved. We didn't get all our cues from our peers. I wasn't 9 learning what to do when I grew up from a 9-year-old. I watched the men in the neighborhood and how they were behaving. So when we kind of keep jumping to what these 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old, like they're just the problem.
Ain't that
you talking to this 14-year-old like he's the problem? 3 years ago, he didn't even like girls. And now all of a sudden he's supposed to be to blame for the interpersonal dynamic between men and women in the community. Like
That's true. And we have a lot of a lot of elders in our community, man, and I'm always leaning more towards elders who figure out a way to impart wisdom on young people. But something I'm learning, sometimes that can be with words, but most of the time, just do.
So let's qualify. What's an elder?
Elder to
Mhm.
me, I'm 43 years old. I'm gonna consider an elder maybe like somebody over 60.
Okay,
Someone
so
like
that to me is what I talk about. We'll look at 16-year-olds and 60-year-olds
Mm-hmm.
for what's going on in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And we let off these 25 to 50-year-olds like they ain't out here. Like we'll demonize 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds for the way they're dressed, the way they talk, what they are or are not doing, the behaviors that they're exhibiting. And then we'll look to 60-something-year-olds as to be the elders and the wise voice and the sages of the community to go to for advice. Meanwhile, the problematic ones are the 25, 30, 35, 40, 45-year-olds who either did dirt, didn't clean it up, and went about their own way, or never were involved in helping to patch up some of the problems when they were there in that time period.
Wait, so if we got a 25-year-old and he's running wild, doing different things in the street, who's going to help him? Who besides his peer, who's going to step in and talk to him? Who's going to step in and are you saying that he's 25, so maybe someone younger should step in and kind of
if he's 25, where are the 30, 32, 35, 37, 39, 42, 44? Why does it need to get to 65? Why do I need somebody with an AARP card to be the one to step in and say, this is what, young man, let me pull you aside? How about the dude who was just there 6 summers ago?
That's deep. That's true.
Like, I was just where you are.
That's true, bro.
Like, not, well, man, back in 1995 when I was your age, this is how I was moving. No, what about the dude?
Like a lot of young people don't want to hear that. What
about the dude who got 5 summers on you?
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy. Like I said, we don't put responsibility on the 30-year-old. We don't tell the 35-year-old he needs to. The 37-year-old, it's 16 and then it's 60.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because even somebody 25 to 27, to that age range, they're probably going to listen more to someone who's a little younger, who've experienced some of those things as well. But sometimes, Jermaine, it seems like the reason why I brought that up in that manner, it seems like sometimes the 35-year-old ain't interested
in they on the same BS. That's what I'm saying. This is the group that's the problematic ones.
Got you.
Because the 16-year-old learned from the 30-year-old. The 16-year-old didn't learn from the 60-year-old.
Great fucking point. Yeah.
So I'm saying, so when we start, how do we correct and make these adjustments? First off, quit letting this 25-year span off the hook, because they're now in the pursuit of paper. Because now if you're 25, 30, 35, you're trying to get your money right. I'm trying to worry about my situation.
Yeah.
Somebody else need to take care of them.
Yeah, and just in general, it seems like a lot of our men, just to keep it real, because just talking to younger men, listening to our music, like that type of crowd, it's a lot of individualism.
Yes.
It's a lot of me.
I got mine, or you get yours.
My bag. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was listening to somebody talk, I forgot who it was the other day, just talking about being a successful Black person and moving out of the hood. And they spoke about it. Nice brother, you know what I mean? But he spoke about it so horribly, as far as I had to move out of the hood. Everybody it was just so treacherous. I had to get out of there, laughing at the hood almost. And I'm like, damn, I don't know. I understand wanting to do better. Yeah. And if you live in a place where it's hella potholes and it's hella liquor stores, maybe you say, I don't want to live in a place like this. But how do we say, okay, I don't want to live here, but this is still where I come from. I still need to try to figure out a way to help. I ain't got to go back and give them all my goddamn money, but I'm going to do something to help. I need to have some connection to that environment that helped raise me, just because now I have a good career and I went to school. that don't mean I should create that disconnect. You know what I mean?
Well, so also I think so. There's also this narrative too. All black people aren't from the hood.
True.
All black people are not from low income housing. All black people are not from single parent households.
Mhm.
All black people are not from households with drug addiction and folks in and out of jail and all this sort of stuff. That's not every black person in America's experience. So let's pull that barrier out and say your connectivity to community is not based upon your social economic situation. Me caring about you, I don't have to have grown up next to you to care about you. I'm not only concerned with the kids that grew up next to me. Like if I grew up in a situation to where I'm good, that doesn't mean that it's me and then them over there. Because a lot of times we say this, well, you know, you got to get back to where you came from. Well, what if still care even if that's not where you're from? I'm born in Sacramento. If I decide that I want to help out in Fresno, that doesn't mean I just say forget folks in Fresno because that's not where I'm from.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. But we'll sit there and try to say, well, you know, you need to do this because that's where you're from, even if it's not where you're from.
Just the mentality of a person.
Like I said, are you good for the ecosystem?
Are you good for the ecosystem?
And that's not just your side of it. You know what I mean? Like the ecosystem is this with the trees and the water and the land and all that. Okay, well, you lived in the trees, but the water is still a part of your ecosystem, even though that's not where you're from. Even that's not where you live.
That's deep. That's deep because a lot of times I speak from that perspective because, you know, everything I grew up around, most of the men I grew up around, my neighborhood, slightly impoverished. I mean, we were happy, but a lot of drug dealing, a lot of gang banging. Like the members of my family had to go through all of this. And I hear a lot of the black people will say frequently that we're not a monolith. And that's important to understand that. But I think everybody should speak, you know, from their personal experience and what they have, their personal black experience. But you're right. There's a lot of black folks who grew up with two parents or one parent. And I didn't struggle. I wasn't in the hood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's where part of, I think, maybe some of the external validation stuff happens where we don't live our genuine selves is because we believe that the black experience is the hood experience. So you have people who take on personas and exhibit behaviors because that's the more alignment of how they're judged.
That's true.
And so they start doing stuff that's not in alignment with who they are. They start talking to women in ways that's not how they would normally talk to them. Behave ways that's not in alignment with them. But that's what the perceived persona is. So we start getting that too. Like the idea of like, you know.
Yeah, and it's funny because we was talking about hip hop yesterday and just how it affects us. And one of the young brothers was mentioning how we are mimicking what they're talking about. We're trying to live up to what they're talking about. And this is what we need to realize too, Jermaine. This happens to a black kid who grew up in a hood environment where he's seeing some of the stuff the music is illustrating, but also the black kid from the suburbs who he's damn near equal to the white child.
He want to be hard now.
He want
because the music in the streets told him he's not black enough unless he hood enough.
Unless he hood enough. Come on now.
You know, if you're not calling women B's and H's, you a simp.
This happens.
If you're not doing A, B, and C, like I said, you're not motivated by your internal purpose. You're motivated by external affirmations. So you're doing stuff that's not even who you are just because you're trying to be validated externally. And so we have, and I've said before, a lot of times in our community, especially with our men, we have a self-esteem deficiency issue. And so when you're trying to get your cup filled of your own self-esteem and self-worth from everybody except you, then you have to go where the water is.
You have to go where the water is. And that's a big problem. And I was looking at that like, damn, some of these young black dudes, they, you know, it could be a biracial young man, because I understand they have it rough, like not being black enough. not being white enough. Like they have a whole dynamic that they have to deal with. And this is a lot of black people in America who deal with, I'm not hood. I don't come from that environment, but I may be in an environment where it's mostly white people, mostly people who don't look like me.
Yeah.
That in itself can create somewhat of identity crisis.
I think so. I mean, I don't know that experience,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I believe it to be real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's shifting a little bit more because of in this Dwayne Johnson, Barack Obama, Pat Mahomes world, like
yes, true.
It's becoming more and more prevalent of biracial individuals in, you know, high profile positions. I think there's more people to say I can associate, I can connect with, you know, they can see themselves in more examples.
Yeah. And the black experience in America is a complex thing, you know, and we all can only speak from like what we've experienced, what we've been through, but just watching everybody, because I'm hard on black men who I think don't care about us. You know what I mean? But then you have to take a step back and say, okay, if I had the opportunity to talk with this brother, we gonna have to build. Like what? I don't know his full experience either. See, but I know, like historically, looking at things that have happened to us, a lot of things we've tried to get accomplished, a lot of things we've tried to use to move forward, we've had people in our community who sabotage it. You know what I mean? That has happened. So sometimes I try not to be as jaded when I see a black man who don't seem like he relate to me, but like we was talking about, he could have been raised in a completely different environment. So he's dealing with a completely different black experience.
Yeah, well, I think we don't have enough genuine conversations, like real conversations. Like we'll talk about who you want to see in the NBA finals, but do we talk about, do you have a set of core beliefs?
A set of core beliefs. And if you do, like, what are they?
Come yeah, I'm saying, like, do you got, are there some principles you follow? Let's see if we're in alignment there as opposed to our football team. Like, let's see if you, when you're putting the village together, like, let's see who's on the same page, like for real on the real stuff.
On the real stuff. And that'll tell. And that's important. That's why last night, me and Jermaine last night went to a event called The Build, where it was several black men sitting around having a great conversation. That's why I like that, Jermaine, because sometimes with my friends, with my associates, I feel that everybody's more comfortable talking about surface things. So I kind of leave it there. You know what I mean? But I'm like, well, we could have got down to something important if we could have dug a little deeper. That's why I brought up the black men that I see, because I'm going to give them hell. But I always sit back and think, okay, if I could talk to this brother, I would want to figure out where that come from. Who were you raised around? When you say core beliefs, like how do you view black people in general? That'll give you a lot of information about how they feel about you.
Think about that group we had last night. There were some who were pushing like, okay, well, it's the importance of getting back to the nature, growing our own food, producing our own stuff, that's a primary concern. Other folks was like, we need to be more military minded. We need to organize under the premise of, you know, getting ready for war type thinking. Like get your structure, get a regiment, get together. Other folks like, we need to get a core base in history and in education. Like, okay, these are the vehicles, but let's talk about where are we going? So let's just see if we are at the same location in mind. And you start talking to folks like, okay, you'll find out who's going to the same trip as you is not. You know, the folks are like, no, we need to get money and get this, and this. For what? Like, what? Okay, then what? What are the core things that you want to get done? Okay, I think because one of the brothers brought up, we need institutions. You know, we need institutions that, you know, you come in one way, you leave another, some fundamental duplicate type process that everybody can get uniform. And okay. And if I believe in the principles of that said institution, then we can all figure out ways to pour into or to support said institution. You know, how do you build is everybody doesn't have to agree which is first or agree, which is, like I said, if you decide that the best way to get there is in a Winnebago, I decide the best way is on motorcycle. So-and-so, the best way is in a 4x4. The other one decides the best way is by flying. As long as we're going to the same place.
That is pivotal, because
instead of arguing over the mode of transportation.
Come on now. That's pivotal, because we see a lot of times where a Black person may, for me personally, speaking for me, I've had my journey. Sometimes I've had difficulties with religious Black people, like learning certain things. When I first learned about certain things, I was highly upset about feeling my family and the people who introduced me to religion, like the auspice of how it came to me, I felt kind of cheated in a way. But as I evolved, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I want the best for my people in general.
Yeah.
So regardless of what you believe in, if we can talk and we headed to the same direction, it don't matter that you a Christian or Muslim if we headed to the same place.
Yeah, we can. I think we've talked about it before in another show. Like those ideological differences, those are things. If we get hung up on the differences, those are things that are destroying. You say, what's the difference between destroying and building? If we're going to nitpick and argue and try to discredit and pick apart somebody for the differences, that is chipping away at instead of building a foundation.
Building a foundation of what you do.
What we do want. But if we could sit there and say, okay, out of all these different beliefs, you're atheist, you're Muslim, you're Christian, you're whatever. Like, you pray to the universe, like whatever, you believe in polygamy, you believe in like whatever these certain things are. If the core thing is like, we need educational institutions, financial institutions, we need, hospitals, we need like the core base things of a community. Financial structure, an educational one, food, medicine, like we're all okay. Then that's what we're working towards. I'm not here to talk to you about your 3 wives. I'm saying like, that's not what this is about. So how do we build? You find the commonalities, you find the core beliefs that are in alignment. And then you start working in sex to get those things accomplished. I mean, if you look at other groups, and the comparison is productive to a degree, but if you watch how other groups have done things, it's never a uniform group where everybody agree with something. You just start doing this over here, you do this over here, do this over here, but you're all moving in the same general direction.
Yeah, and some other groups, they'll be like, I don't like that guy, but
I don't like him at all.
I got to get the deal done.
But that's not so kind of like said, keeping it on one, like, okay, so if we're going to build, like I said, that internal question, like I said, are you good for the ecosystem? The way that you interact with children and raise your own, do you raise people? Are you raising the type of son you would want your daughter to come home with?
Come on now.
Are you raising the type of daughter you'd want your son to come home with? Are you the type of man you'd want your son to be? Are you the type of man you want your daughter to come home with? The ecosystem, the way that you treat the mother of your children, is that the way you'd want your daughter treated by the man that she has babies with?
Come on now.
If you come back with a no to any of these things, then that lets you know what you're doing to the ecosystem that you have created and that you work in. So before we start doing the big, huge, how can we change the world? How can we change the country? How can we change the state? How can we change the city? Your ecosystem. I talk to my brother this way. I talk to my father this way. I talk to my mother this way. I talk to my neighbor this way. I raise my kids this way. When I'm in the store, I talk to somebody I pass in the aisle this way. All the people who are 1 degree of separation from me. How do I move in the ecosystem in which I operate in? And if you can come back saying, I'm manipulative, I'm trying to get mine, I'm trying to get over, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, I'll cut you off and dismiss you, I'll disrespect you, I'll be petty, I'll do all these things in my 1 degree of separation, then that lets you know the ecosystem that you've created.
Damn, Jermaine, damn. So, come on now, y'all. So before you can, because I'm always talking about community building. Hey, man, go out and build your community. What you're doing out there for your people. But look, if you're not nice to your mama, you're not gonna be nice to me. If you're
Or
not
even
nice to the people around you,
so don't even look at it as if I'm not nice to her, I'm not going to be nice to you. But by me treating this person this way, what does that person then go out and do? If I disrespect you, do you think that it ends with you? No.
Wait,
I disrespected you.
So somebody disrespect somebody.
If I disrespect you at 8 o'clock and walk away, what's the probability that you're over it by 8:01? Not very likely. Which means you're going to take the disrespect I showed you at 8 o'clock, and that's going to touch the next person you come in contact with.
Damn, Jermaine.
So and then that salty thing I did that you give to the next person, you've now given that to the person. There was that Denzel Washington movie, Fallen. Came a long time ago. It was kind of like he was a cop, but it was kind of like supernatural thing where he was chasing this spirit, that the way the spirit kept transferring to each people, he kept touching them.
Oh, I see.
And he always sing that song, "Time is on my side," whatever. Yeah. He kept transferring that evil spirit by touch. 1 degree of separation transferred that evil spirit to everybody who he came in contact with. That's what we do when we on some nonsense.
Damn.
We 1 degree of separation, touching that spirit on our kids, on our significant other, on our siblings, on our co-workers, on our teachers, on our students, on the person that the checker at the grocery store, the dude at the gas station. Like, what are you doing with your ecosystem? What are you doing with your 1 degree of separation, the length of your arm? Forget everything else. What are you doing at the length of your arm?
The length of your damn, Jermaine.
And if you start there, we ain't got to worry about what's happening on the other side of town. What are you doing at the length of your arm?
Because that's a great concept, because the length of your arm is really stretching pretty far. Like if this
very far.
I'm understanding now. So if I'm a man in a home, and because I realize this, Jermaine, like if I come home, my kids, my dogs, my woman, everybody in the house, if my energy is fucked up, if I'm mad, if I'm saying something negative about everything somebody bring up, I'm watching it. You just articulated it, but I'm watching it affect everybody.
You touch 5 people with the length of your arm. So now what does Junior do when he goes to school? What does your wife do when somebody call? What does your daughter do when she leave the house? What is the length of your arm?
The length of your arm. And that's a lot of accountability, and that's powerful. Like I guess sometimes, Jermaine, we just don't know how many people we affecting by what just came. Whoever heard what just came out your mouth, you don't know how much you affected them.
You ever walked into a room and it just seemed like I can't even be around it? Like you'll hear an argument across the room that ain't got nothing to do with you. And you're just like, I don't even want to deal with that. Like, even though I'm not involved in this confrontation anyway, just hearing people curse back and forth at each other, hearing people throw negative stuff. Like, I was in a good mood till I came in here. I just turn around and leave.
Turn around and leave.
Like, I was in a good mood. I don't need to hear your drama. But what we'll do is we'll say, I got to tell somebody about themselves. I got to get this off my chest. They got to, and we'll be loud and let everybody, and we're touching all these people.
I got to keep it real. Like you keeping it real traumatic.
And you are murkying up the ecosystem.
You're murkying up the ecosystem. Like, and that's a great point, Jermaine. Like controlling really what you have control of. What's around you, because sometimes we be shooting to change the world, but your house ain't in order. How can you actually affect everybody outside of your environment?
So take that the next step. Instead of how much damage can you do when you on some BS, think about it. If you're talking about black men, if your significant other, if you gave her a little extra time, gave a little compassion, a little love and affection in the morning, how does that change who she is when she go to work?
Damn.
As opposed to you arguing over some garbage and then sending her to work. Well, who do you think when she get to work, what energy is she gonna be on? You start fussing at your kids, calling them all kind of crazy stuff in the morning versus I love you, son. I'm so proud of you. I know you doing this and that, and pour into them. Now who are they going to be when they go to school?
Damn.
Are you good or bad for the ecosystem?
For the your ecosystem, the ecosystem outside. Are you good or bad for it? In
Good
this,
or bad? Are you talking about how do we build or destroy communities? Are you good or bad for the ecosystem?
and sometimes people don't realize some things are subtle. I know we all have bad days, we all have bad moments, but speaking specifically for men, all men out there, I can promise you, the temperature in the home, both parents can set it, but the temperature in the home a lot of time is set by the man. That morning, damn, Jermaine, that morning argument can ruin everybody's day. Everybody who heard him in the house.
Not only did you ruin everybody's day, their morning, but you know there's a part 2 when everybody come home.
We know it's a part 2.
So not only did I sit there and say, okay, did you offset everybody's morning? And then it carries over in the afternoon. Now, when your day gets ready to end, it's an hour before you get ready to come home. Man, I ain't going home. Ain't nothing but an argument waiting for me.
And like a brother said yesterday in the bill we was in, a great event me and a brother Jermaine went to yesterday. Yeah. He was like, your home should be your sanctuary. Something I've realized, like everything we got to go through outside of our house, just being black, dealing with a job, dealing with a car, dealing with everything, you should be able to come home and feel relaxed, be able to speak your mind, not have too much anguish. But we, as guiders and leaders, to me in the community, being black men, we should be really cognizant of that. Women sometimes will have their up and down moments, and they'll have little emotional outbursts and things they want to say or do based on how they're feeling. Like, Jermaine, shouldn't we step back from that and kind of survey things a little differently?
We're humans. Everybody, so somebody said we need a safe space and time to vent. It's not healthy to keep the hurt in. So here's the difference between discussing what's going on versus me making my issue about you. There's a difference between me having an issue with something Harrison did versus having an issue with Harrison. Which one are we discussing? So if there's a situation that is a situation, and that's what my irritation is, then I shouldn't be calling you everything but a child of God in the course of this conversation. Now, if my issue is you, then it don't matter what you do. I got a problem with you. And if that's the case, you got much deeper issues when it pertains to your household and your situation. Does that make sense?
So I have an issue that just happened with a person, like they're there and it's with them, but I got to determine, am I just mad at them because of some other stuff or what they've been doing? Or did they just do one thing?
I asked you to take out the trash before I went to work. I came home to work. The trash is stinking. It's still in the kitchen. I'm upset that the trash is still in the kitchen. I'm irritated with you because I asked you and you didn't do it. Now, if I give you 2 barrels of this trash can and I'm calling you, I'm talking about your mama, you ain't ish, you ain't never gonna be nothing. This is why I should have never got with you. This is this, and this. Okay, we are now beyond this trash can sitting here. So I'm saying, so like I said, so when this is what we talked in the very beginning about showing up builds credibility. So having a constant checking in, a constant communication, a constant empathy, you can have a bad day and we can come back. But when you don't have the track record, that's when stuff usually goes 0 to 100.
And you know what? And I'm realizing that as a man, sometimes men, we got to realize women are watching everything we do. So sometimes, and damn, Jermaine, you be going there. Sometimes you think what she yelling about is about right now.
No.
You may think it's about the trash, but you always do this trash thing. She didn't ask you 10 times to do something else. So you feel your woman's anguish and you think it's about right now. But nah, she been watching you.
It's the extra money you didn't show up with. It's the thing, it's not the trash can, it's you consistently don't do what you say you're going to do. So I don't feel safe in your judgment or your word. So I don't feel safe with you. I can't trust you. And we'll say something, you can't trust me over the garbage. I can't trust you because you're inconsistent.
Men
now I gotta worry about something I normally wouldn't have worried about, but you keep showing me I can't just fall back and trust you'll catch me because you don't do what you say you're gonna do.
And man, I gotta be transparent. These are things that I've had to deal with, and this is difficult Because we got friends, like people, like your homeboys that come at you one way and kind of talk to you, and y'all had these conversations. But man, ain't nothing like when a woman cuts you. When a woman you've been around, and a woman who know you, it's gonna cut deeper. Because if you're not sufficient, like keeping your word and being disciplined, these are core characteristics that as a man, if you're not doing these things, they can cause you a lot of problems. And Jermaine, I see men sometimes who are in a relationship who are trying to avoid that, trying to be players or whatever. And it's really because a woman has showed them their mirror. You're like, I don't want to deal with that.
Well, so that's the misconception when we talk about usually the two provisions that men are always labeled as having is to being able to protect and to provide. And a lot of times we take protection as if somebody come in the house, I'm grabbing the strap. Your woman feeling protected, your kids feeling protected is not just in your ability from physical harm. Protection is if he say he got me, he got me. If he say he's going to be there at 1 o'clock, I don't care if it's raining flaming dragons outside. 12:59 turn, 1 o'clock, I'm going to look up my eyes and I'm going to see him standing there.
Damn.
That's protection. If he say I got it, I got it. But if he's inconsistent and he don't follow through, and 1 o'clock is always 3:15 or 5 or tomorrow, you know, the inconsistency doesn't get done. I'm not protected because I can't trust you. I'm not safe with you. So now I worry about how you are with the kids because I can't trust that if you said you'll pick them up at 1, that you'll be there at 1. I can't trust that you said you'll feed them by 3, that they'll be fed by 3. So there's a whole bunch of anxiety I carry around with me because I'm worried about I'll rather just do it myself because I trust me. And then I'm going to get mad at you because I had to do it myself because you didn't do it. Protection is creating that space of your word means something. We've gotten so far away from your word meaning something.
And that and men, all men, young black men, all men in general, this is a core thing, Jermaine, that I've struggled with. And everything you're saying is 1,000% true, bro. Just based on my personal experience with women and children and the people around me. If a woman can't trust you, a lot of shit's gonna feel a certain way. And we are looking at the situation. Yeah, she just mentioned the garbage. She just mentioned the kid's supposed to be picked up at 2:15. You got there at 3. You think it's about this one incident at 3. No.
We think trust is about another woman. When she say, I don't trust you, we think, man, I ain't been hollering at no other women. She's like, I would rather have you sleep with somebody else if I know you're going to pick up the kids on time and not leave them out on the curb by themselves.
I'm not tripping off that.
It's not like a lot of times we hear trust, we think of like, oh, she think I'm out creeping. No, she just don't trust you to say what and do what you say you're going to do.
And then sometimes men don't know how to go deep like Jermaine is doing right now. You would tell your homeboy, yeah, man, she tripping off the garbage and shit. And your homeboy go back with, yeah, my girl be tripping off the garbage. Y'all go on this surface ass tirade, not realizing it's deeper.
And the two of them are having a conversation at 10 p.m. when they both said they was going to be home at 6.
They both said
they'd be home by 6 p.m. They still going back and forth with each other about how they women is tripping, and it's 4 hours past the time they said both of them said they was gonna be home.
4 hours past, and that's man, damn. Because I there was a time where I thought me not having money is the reason why I'm having a problem with my woman. Me not like living out my dreams the right way is the reason my woman has a problem with me. Not realizing simple thing. Hey, a company just sent me an email. I sent it to you. Can you look the email up and print it out for me? Yeah, I got you. Hang up the phone, forget all about that shit. Now she gets home. I need the email. What email? So this is some men, me included. This was, I consider this something small. No.
These are all tells of your ability to do what you say. Can I trust you to do what you say you're going to do?
Damn. What you say you're going to do.
So like with me, my day-to-day life, I tell people all the time, my default answer is no.
Damn.
My default answer is no. If you ask me to do something, to go somewhere, in my mind, the first answer is no. And then let me see if it works out for what I'm doing so I don't overcommit.
Damn. No.
So I don't say yes to something unless I'm going to do it. That's why you'll either hear a yes from me or you'll hear I'll see. I'll see means just that. I'll see. I'm not committing. My yeses are yeses. My no's are no. Like, what is it? It says that you're the master of what you say no to, but the slave to what you say yes to.
And you know what? I've been in positions sometimes, Jermaine, where I say yeah to something and then get mad when somebody expect me to do this shit. Just because my day got busy. Now now you call me about that shit I'm supposed to do at 7:30 and I'm irritated. What?
But if you say yes and you don't do it because you said yes to too many other people, okay, so your word, you just give your word to everybody and you're inconsistent and you commit to stuff and you don't follow through. How can I trust that what you're telling me is not just the same lip service you give them, and the yes you gave me has no more value than the yes you gave them that you didn't follow through with?
Come on now.
So it's how do we build? How do we go? Like I said, base point. Do you know yourself? Do you know if you overcommit? Do you know if you come? You do better just to say no. I need you to do this. No. Now they may call you whatever for not ever coming through, but at least I know what he is.
Yeah. And something I learned, Jermaine, is something like what I had to, and it hurt me to realize this. I was breaking promises to people. Yeah. But before that, I was breaking promises to myself.
The way you do anything's the way you do everything.
God damn, I hate hearing that shit sometimes, but that's the truest thing ever. I'm writing down the list or okay, today's my day. I need to do boom, 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 boom. It all changes based on the wind, based on a phone call. It just all changes. So to a degree, I'm like, damn, unfortunately, I damn near can't trust myself.
That's what I'm saying. So then how do you expect somebody else to? When you tell your kid, I'll be there for you. I'm going to be there at your practice today. By 10-year-old, the kid is hitting you with the side eye like, okay. He ain't coming.
He ain't coming. And that's,
you know what I mean?
Man.
Your daddy's going to come pick you up this weekend. Can I go to the movies? You know your dad's coming. Can I go to the movies?
Come on now.
We both know he ain't going to be. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
we both know he's not going to be there. And as men, if you haven't tried your best to master this way of thinking, it's always going to show up. It's always going to show up in different ways. And maybe it can be with your friend or your woman or whatever, your kids. But when you see it, though, you have to recognize it. You have, because I'll be learning, okay, if 4 people around me is telling me the same thing about myself, maybe I need to back up and start listening.
And even like, look at your life. Like, so I'm real big on have the conversations with yourself. So before you even have to really just branch out and have these town hall forums with everybody, have that conversation with yourself. You and the man in the mirror. Like, is my life what I want it to be? Are my relationships what I want them to be? Is the way that my relationship with my kids and my significant other, my family? Okay, why not? What am I doing? What is my part in why this is not what I would like it to be? And if you start off with, well, she didn't, and he didn't, and he didn't, you already let you know you flawed right now in your logic. If you starting externally with all your relationship dynamics, you start with what the other person is or isn't doing, as opposed to what you did or how you responded. Okay, this I'm not being accountable.
I'm not being accountable.
I'm not behind the wheel of my own life. I'm an extra in my own movie. I'm just doing what the screen, what the plot says, as opposed to what it is that I want to do.
Goddamn. And people all the time I see people having issues because life is like beating you up. It's telling you what to do almost. You're not directing where you want to go. You're just reacting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I see that a lot of times. And damn, Jermaine, this is deep, bro. Manhood is, because look, this is when I first had children, I'm 22, 23 years old with 3 kids, about to have 4 kids. No way near ready for this experience. Yeah. But I got to a point, Jermaine, where I was like, damn, I know I'm not being a man the right way. So when the internet first came out, like when I first got my little cell phone, I was able to Google. I was like, and this is real shit, y'all. I Googled what is a man. Okay. I Googled this. Like I'm missing some stuff, and too many people I love around me are disappointed with me. So what the fuck am I? What am I supposed to be doing? You know what I mean?
So one thing I always like to preface when I discuss, we talk about manhood. One thing that just bugs me whenever I see it is that there's this difference between a man and a real man. Real men do this.
Oh yeah.
Real men do that. No, but I mean like in any criteria, because what it does is that well, you're not a man unless he's 30 years old, but he ain't a man. Yeah, he is. He may be an irresponsible man, but he's still a man. He may be an inconsistent man, but he's still a man. He may be an immature man, but he's still a man. Manhood is not something you get to opt out of. And when you put a criteria, when you put a criteria, if you do this, you're one, and if you don't do this, you're not. What you're then saying is that, so if a dude doesn't raise his kids, doesn't pay child support, he's not involved, oh, he ain't no real man, he don't take care of his kids. Okay, fine, I'm not a real man. So you shouldn't hold any of these manhood standards to me. I shouldn't be held accountable to any of these things that a man is, because I'm not one. I agree with you. I'm not a man. Leave me alone. No, you don't get to opt out. Like there's not a checklist that says you're on the team or you're not. You don't get cut from the squad. Like you are a man regardless. So I like to pull all those. Well, a man is this, a male and a grown boy. No, you a man. You may be a crappy version of one, but you still one. And we don't let you off the hook and remove the things that are necessary that you need to do because of whatever fake criteria people try to put out there. That's why when there's he's not a real man. Well, how old is he? 37. Yeah, he is. He may be a selfish man, but he's still a man.
He's still that's an interesting concept, Jermaine. You can't opt out.
You don't get to opt out.
You may be irresponsible. You may be a little shiftless. You may not keep your word, but a man, you are.
Because if there's a criteria that you are or you are not, if this is the criteria to play for the Lakers, all right, well, you ain't on the Lakers. Okay, then I ain't got to go to practice because I'm not a Laker. I'm not on the team. I ain't got to show up. I ain't got to take pictures. I ain't got to get on the bus. I ain't got to do nothing.
Yeah,
because I'm not on the team.
Gives you the ability to kind of opt out when
you don't get to opt out. That's why there's no criteria that puts you on or off the team.
Yeah. That's why I like that, Jermaine. When we come on and we talk, we clarify sometimes the cliche terms that we use in our community, and we kind of define them as what it really means. Because you know how we are as the people. We just get to saying shit, and then it just keep going and keep spreading and everybody say it like a catchphrase. But if you break it down, what are you really talking about? Because sometimes when you say the man ain't a man and it's somebody you chose, just what I'm learning, sometimes you got to say, okay, like homeboy, one of the young men said last night that was sitting next to me, I was at when I chose this person, I got to take accountability for where I was at mentally when I met him. Definitely.
It like I said, is starting with yourself. It's not, you can't even make the argument that what we'll hear people all the time is like, well, all women are this way. And we'll say all the women you dated. That in itself is not true. The version of you that showed up for all the women you dated is the relationship you had. Because the very same woman that you had all this drama, conflict, and problems with, a different version of a man showed up for her right after you, and she didn't exhibit none of that behavior.
That happens a lot.
And we'll sit there and say it's like, well, no, it's all these dudes ain't this. Oh no, just the dude you date. No, the version of you that showed up for the man that you dated is the relationship that you had.
Because I hear people all the time say, man, I'm gonna leave Sacramento. Ain't no men out here. Ain't no women out here. And I'm like, damn, that's a loaded statement, but I don't know how true that is.
So if you want to say that there's cultural differences, like I know there's this big thing, they get on these, they call them passport brothers. And they get on these dudes who want to go to other countries and find wives. And they're like, oh, you want a wife that's, A, B, and C, because there are certain things about American culture that some people don't want. All a 2023 passport brother is a brother from 1993 to 03 who used to get a girl down south. Like if you lived in California and you were like, nah, you need to go get you a girl down south. You need to go get you a girl from Georgia, get you a girl from Texas, get you a girl, Southern girl, go to church every day, still cooks from scratch, like 93 to 03 when it was on that's all the Passport Brother is in 2023. It's just now the Southern girls became California, Chicago, New York, and Miami girls, and so now you leaving the country.
Yeah, yeah.
But so if there's some cultural things that you don't want, so if you say in Sacramento, I can't find a culture of a type of person I want, so I'm going somewhere else. Okay, there may be some truth to that. But if you're saying the personality traits, all the girls out here is A, B, and C. Now, you may find yourself dealing with a high population because of the dudes that are bad for the ecosystem. You live in it, you're in an environment with a bunch of dudes who are tainting the waters. So the guy who comes after them, you spending all your time trying to fish out the pond of the dudes that was before you. Like I said, are you good for the ecosystem? What is the trail you leave behind you? So people who are like, I need to go to another region. Sometimes there's some truth to that. Sometimes you're in a bad ecosystem.
Sometimes you're in a bad ecosystem. You need to look at that's like homeboy said last night. That touched my soul. Like how you show up. She wasn't maybe not a bad woman, just the dude who showed up to meet her where you was at in your life. That situation wasn't right. You wasn't right. Like that happens a lot, Jermaine, where the girl move on, the dude move on, and they happy as hell.
Because the next person they get with is not you. So the next person they get with does not have your baggage. She's not responding to your trauma, your underlying issues, your situations. So those buttons are not getting pushed in her that got pushed with you. And so then it's like, oh, she learned to act right for the next guy. No, she wasn't responding. You acting wrong.
She wasn't responding to you acting wrong.
Like she got with somebody that's not you.
Yeah.
The same way men who will be a certain way with one woman and then are different with another one will make some changes themselves, but we're with a different woman. And sometimes how that dynamic shows up. Like, oh, now he learned to come home. Like now he learned how to get a job. Like now he, but it's like, so I just think to the original point of are we mindful of what we're building or what we're destroying? Our interactions with people, knowing who we are and ourselves, knowing those things that we need to work on. Like in the dynamic between men and women, I think something that gets overlooked a lot is the idea of daddy issues that we apply to women. When you find a lot of times in our community, a Black man's first heartbreak was actually his father.
Not his mom, but his father.
The first person who broke his heart was actually his dad. So when we get in these family dynamics where the father's not present, that broken heart that he got from feeling neglected, feeling disregarded, feeling inadequate, that first heartbreak came from his father. And usually his mother's on the receiving end of that pain.
That's deep.
But we'll apply, when we say daddy issues, we think that's just a daughter to father thing. But there's a lot of sons who first heartbreak was their father.
And that's deep. And men have to get to a point like emotionally to even be okay with admitting that. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, you know what, just before we leave, sometimes I see men just react a certain way, Jermaine, like they with anger and venomous when it's like, damn, bro, you just hurt.
You need a hug. I mean, it's as bad as it sounds. Anger is like sneezing in most cases. It's the symptom of whatever's going on. Like anger is an easy emotion to transition to. And for men, it's an acceptable one. So if a dude tells you, man, I'm pissed off about so-and-so and he's knocking something on the floor and he looks like he's ready to fight, we'll tell him to calm down. Let's go have a beer, go smoke something, go chill. But that's an acceptable state to be in as long as he's not being, externally problematic. But if you see that same dude who's over there like, can you woo, woo, woo? Like he's getting ready to start crying and going through some emotional stuff, man. We get uncomfortable just being next to him.
Very true. Very true. Get to telling jokes.
Like, give him that little one-arm pat on the shoulder. It's all right, bro. You good?
But it's obviously.
I'll catch up with you later.
Yeah, but catch up with you later. It's obviously you don't want to have that conversation.
You all right? You straight? All right, I'm going to holler at you.
Yeah,
and we don't work through those types of spaces and feelings.
Definitely. Well, everybody, thank you. very much. We went a little over the normal amount of the show, but my brother Jermaine was dropping fire. We gotta let him go when he going. You know what I mean? We got everybody commenting on the show. Thank you very much. Living life to the fullest. Cheryl Van Epps, Blue Girl, all the different people in the chat, man. This is your brother Harrison, the Melanated Convo podcast. And today we talk about building versus destroying. Me and my brother Jermaine went to an event last night where it was several black men in a circle, no women, all black men in a circle talking about shit. Our feelings, how we feel about stuff, how we feel about trauma, how we feel about past trauma, how we feel about our relationships. And that's important. So we need to realize when are we building or destroying? You could be doing both and not know it. You can be destroying something and not know it. Me and Jermaine was talking about walking in your house as a man and you just fuck the energy up. Yeah. You're just mean. You're just yelling. You're just doing. You don't realize how even the dog is like, what the fuck wrong with this dude?
Dog looking like he's still here.
He avoiding you. You know what I mean? So let's be cognizant of what we put out into the universe. That's the point of the show. This is your brother Harrison. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. The Melanated Convo on YouTube. The show goes live on Facebook as well, which is on my personal Facebook page, Harrison Anderson. All of the digital listeners, if you want to listen to the show opposed to watching it, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, all of these places you can find the show. My Instagram page is at melanatedconvo100. That's at melanatedconvo100. You can go in there and see all my rhetoric and how I feel about y'all. Jermaine, tell everybody where they can find you, bro.
Social media wise, all the platforms are at J Morris CEO. And that's probably the easiest to start there.
And everything is, he said that everything is that. Like
everything at J Morris CEO.
Yeah, everything is the same handle, which was a good idea, by the way. Yeah. So everybody, thank you very much for tuning in, man. Subscribe to the show. She said, do I set reminders? Yes. We schedule the show Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Today we're doing it on Wednesday a little bit later because, you know, yesterday me and my brother had an event to go to, and I rescheduled my show just to be in that environment with those men. So we'll have another show tomorrow at 7 p.m. So every Tuesday and Thursday, that's the actual schedule for the show. You can find us here on the Melanated Convo podcast. My name is Harrison. That's my brother Jermaine Morris. We out.